Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Viper's Garage. So it is the dead of winter here. It's December 27th. Oh, and Merry Christmas, by the way. So I have a slight problem with the car. Everything's running fine, except there's no heat in the car. Engine's fine. It's got heat relatively well. I got some interesting problems here. Let me point the camera down. So this is the outgoing heat to the radiator. So coolant flows from the engine through here into the radiator and back into the engine from the bottom where the pump is. And there's no heat. I mean, there's kind of like a little bit of heat. It's just kind of weak sauce, especially when it gets cold. And normally, like in the summertime or even last winter, if I touch this, I can only maybe touch this for just a split second, and I got to leave my hand off. It's real hot. Right now, I can just like touch that and hold my hand on it for quite a long time. It's significantly cooler than it used to be. And I think my problem is my thermostat is dumping at least some amount of coolant continually into the engine, cooling the engine down. So it's running, it's getting hot, but not too hot. And outgoing is just, it's not that hot. It's just kind of pretty warm. We'll say pretty warm. Going into my heater core, same thing. I have pretty warm air or water going into the core and not very warm, pretty cold coming out of the outlet. So that's not right either. So my attack to this problem, being that I did this last year, is threefold. Number one, I'm going to drain the coolant and change out the thermostat. Number two, to make sure that there's nothing going on with my heater core, I'm going to blow this out. And I actually had this professionally done. There's a guy here in town who has he blows it out with something, and I paid him $100 and he did it, and I had good heat. And I was like, oh great. At the beginning of this winter, I had good heat. I had heat that was so hot I couldn't hold my hand over the outgoing air in the car for too long because of how hot it was. And then after a month or so, I noticed it was kind of weak, and then now it's just kind of non-existent. I can just barely feel warm. It barely keeps the windows defrosted. So it's a pretty big issue. So I'm gonna blow out the heater core. I've got some coolant I'm going to flush through there. Not coolant, excuse me. Some flush and cleaner. And, we're going to see how much water I can push through the radiator core, make sure that's not clogged up. And then I'm going to mix new coolant and just put new coolant into the whole system. And I'm going to mix that 50-50. I've been a little nervous because 50-50 is just rated down to 34 degrees negative Fahrenheit, which it makes me a little nervous, but I've been told that even at like 40 below, which we do sometimes get down to that, it's not that big a problem. It might get a little slushy, but you're not going to freeze, you're not going to break your block. And I have a block heater too, so if that's on, I should be okay. And it is wherever I'm at. If I'm at work, I got the block heater on. I don't leave this thing overnight, anywhere. I have a garage, so yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think I'll be okay with 50-50. Right now it's mixed 60-40, and I think that may be causing at least some of my problem. There's just not as much water to transfer the heat into the radiator or into the heater core as there could be. So let's get started. All right, so let's drain that coolant. First thing we're going to need is a little hose to hook into our pepcock. You can just dump it out if you're going to throw the coolant away, but I want to be cleaner about it. Not make a mess of my garage floor. My car comes with a nice built-in hose, perfect for doing just that. Right here in my coolant overflow bottle. Now, I should be using gloves to do this, but I forgot. I need to remember to do that. Alright. Take your hose, stick it in a milk jug or other suitable container, and let's go underneath. If you do get coolant on your hands, make sure to wash your hands as soon as possible. Alright, here onto the right side of my car, and here's my little pepcock. And the pepcock drain is right there. It's probably hard to see on camera because it's kind of dark, and there we are. So I'm going to hook my hose up to that. Should plug right on in, hopefully. There we go. So we can shed some light on that subject. There we are. There we are. Pepcock with drain hose, and that's going to drain straight into my milk jug when that thing is turned. Careful not to turn it too far. You will unscrew the whole mechanism and have water flying out of here. And by water, I mean coolant. We can speed the process up by releasing this. There we go. It's going to take quite a while for this to drain, so I'm going to pause and come back. One thing to note, when you're doing this, definitely make sure you have a second milk jug ready to go, and potentially a third one after that. Double check the capacity of your coolant system to make sure that you know how much you need. I'm going to be saving all this, depending on how it looks when it comes out of the car. Alright, so I've jacked up the other side of the car, tilting the car to the passenger side, which is the side where the pepcock is on, and slowly, and by slowly I do mean slowly, my jug is filling up. I'm going to go ahead and close the pepcock, remove the drain hose, and I'm going to use my oil pan to capture the rest. I was thinking this is going to be good enough to kind of keep around for extra coolant, and I might do that, but I'm not going to put it back into any engine. Not more than like, just a little top off at a time. Okay, so I got my oil drain pan set up, and I've begin loosening the band around the coolant hose, which goes directly up into our thermostat, which I think is where my problem is. I hope to God, please let it be the thermostat. And I wasn't expecting to get any fluid out of it right now because the car was tilted so far to the left. But it's leaking. So, we've got coolant going into the drain pan, which is where it belongs. So I'm just going to continue to undo this slowly and let it leak out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tilt the car the other way so it drains out of the engine where it's probably trapped in there a lot. And that'll help get the maximum amount of coolant out of the engine. I haven't got the hose off, and already this is way faster than pepcock. Come on. Alright, that band is almost out of there. I have the feeling when I release this, it's going to like splash everywhere. There we go. That's the splash I was looking for. Most of it landed in the bucket. That's a positive thing. Okay, now tilt the car back the other way. Alright. Well, I've had the radiator drained into the pan for about an hour now. It's been on a slow drip. Normally what you do is stick a pump or extractor down here and pump out your antifreeze. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the bottle off of mine, because my car here is only 2 bolts, and this thing comes right off. The bottle's coming out. Yep, washed our drain bottle here, or overflow bottle with soap and water. There we go. Cleaned her out real good. Wasn't a whole lot in there, just a little bit of like a silty at the bottom. Ah, yes. I always know that project is coming to a close when things start coming back on. Our hose that I got from the junkyard. There we are. Perfect. Oh, yes. It's getting exciting. All right. Now to change out that thermostat real quick. Okay, so underneath the car, down around here, is our thermostat. Located right here, up underneath the engine. Not sure how well you can see that. A little light. There we go. Underneath that plastic piece. I'm just going to undo those 2 bolts that you see there on the left and right, and that plastic piece comes down as well as it lets go of the thermostat. I'll change her out and we'll see how it goes. Here we go. Check it out! I suspected that I had a bad thermostat, and boy was I right. There is a gap all the way around this thing. It is sprung wide open, and this has been the cause of me having no heat for most of this winter. And I've been sitting there freezing in my car, getting barely anything out of the heater. For everyone else's reference, this is a Motorrad thermostat. I'm going to have to go online and look up what people think of these things, but my opinion currently is not very high. I put this thing in about a year and a half ago. So I'll be putting in a new OEM thermostat, and hopefully having some good heat tonight. Alright, let's pop her in. Alright, so I'm going to take this thing out. Whoa, there we go. And this thermostat is supposed to, when it fails, it'll fail open. But I don't understand. I mean, it looks like it has these little clips here that when the thing is way up, it'll grab it. And my just gut instinct tells me that if I poke that with a screwdriver or something, this thing is going to pop back down into position and could quite possibly be used as the thermostat again. But I could be wrong. Let's just, for giggles and grins, let's try that out. Well, what do you know? Look at that. Now it's closed. Does the new thermostat have some feature like that? No. No, it does not. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is listed as an OEM replacement part. This is listed as more of a safety device, but certainly keeps me cold in the winter months. Sitting there barely keeping the windows defrosted, freezing my tail off. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in and see how we do with this one. If I blow the head gaskets and blow the engine up, then we'll know I was wrong. But, no, I'm not doing more of this. I'm not freezing on my trips to Fairbanks. Alright, so let's in keeping this thing as clean as possible. This plastic, or I don't know what you call this piece, always gets a bit dirty. And when I first cleaned it out on my very first go through, when I was trying to diagnose as to why I had a coolant leak, I took this apart, put a new thermostat in, and I actually soaked it overnight in soap and water, and it looks pretty good. Alrighty then. New, fully functional thermostat. Now, the engine, this copper slug piece that has the spring on it goes up into your engine so that when this gets warmer, the spring decompresses and opens this up, allowing coolant to flow through the engine. Let's do this. I'm going to put this back up in the engine, mount this back there with the bolts in, and we're going to go for a ride soon. Okay, to put the antifreeze into the radiator, I'm going to be using a no-spill funnel, or radiator bucket as they're called. So first thing you do is you choose the appropriate attachment. On my car, it's this size here, and this thing fits over the top, just like the regular radiator cap. And the funnel just sits on top, and you just kind of push it down a little bit. There we go. And if you need to stop the funnel, this piece here fits down into it, and you kind of push it and twist it. And that way you can put the funnel over your jug, and then you pull this up, and it dumps the remaining coolant back into your jug. Before putting any fluid in, you're going to want to make sure that you've got everything tightened up. And I've got my thermostat in, I've got the hose on the attachment. It's tightened down real good. The petcock is closed. I've got the hose off the petcock. It's up here on the reservoir. So we are ready to put in coolant. Now I thought I had a couple gallons of coolant. In reality, it's only 1.6 gallons in this entire thing. And as a warning, these things kind of gurgle and burp. You want to kind of check for leaks as you go. Not seeing anything. Looking good. Now, I know I wasn't able to get 100% of the antifreeze out of my engine. I got as much as I possibly could. There's probably still some sitting in the heater core. So I'm going to fill the bucket up. No leaks in the garage floor. Good, good. This is exciting. I'm gonna have heat again in the middle of winter. And to prevent splashing, I'm going to put the radiator bucket lid right here on top. Provided I can get it on. There it goes. All right. Let that blurble and gurk while I go and make up some more coolant. I've done about all I can do here with the funnel. It's been slowly blurping, a few drips, bubbles here and there. to get the rest of the coolant in the car, I'm going to rock the car back and forth, up and down, and that's going to give me some bubbles. Come on. I may not get very many, but the more I get in the car, the less I'll have to put in next time. So after I've driven it around for 20 or 30 miles, I'll let the car cool back down, get the funnel out, and fill it up again. In the front here. Live! Live! Now I've done this before. I know they say no spill funnel, but in reality, this is where it spills. Right here, when you take this off, I like to have some paper towels around. Put my stopper down. Make sure it's nice and tight. Now I'm going to open up my coolant here in my reservoir, and we're going to fill up the reservoir. But I'm going to hold this with the paper towels. Hopefully I don't get too much. Because if you're looking for leaks and you dumped a bunch down here, it's never a good thing. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. In fact, I'd say that's pretty good. Now I'm going to use the light and put it down here in my semi-clear bottle, and I can see how high it's getting filled up. And away we go. There we go. We are full. The rest of this can go back in the jug. Oh, that looks real good in there. Yeah. All right. Radiator bucket's off. Reservoir is full up. Radiator has been filled. I'm going to fire her up and check for leaks. There's a freaking moose in our house.